In this video, I'm going to show you how I pick up stitches around a neckline. I'm using my soundtrack top here as an example, but the technique I use is similar for many other patterns as well. So the instructions first say to pick up and knit the back stitches. So I'm going to turn the work over so that the back neck is facing me. So in soundtrack, it says to pick up and knit for my size 50 back neck stitches. So that's over here. So first I'm going to want to insert my circular needle. I'm just using a 16-inch circular right here into my first bound off back neck stitch. So you can tell it's a bound off stitch because see how we have these horizontal V's? Those are all of our bound off stitches. So to start, I'm going to insert my needle into the very first one, and I'm going to insert it into both legs of the V, just like that. Then I'm going to take my yarn and leaving a nice long tail so I can weave in any looseness that might appear here at the end. I'm going to leave a nice long tail. I'm going to drape it over my needle, just like this, and then pull the loop through. Like this. So I've picked up and knit my first back neck bound off stitch. Then I'll go into the next V, just like that. And then wrap the yarn around the needle and then pull the loop through. So I will just continue in this manner, going into each of these bound off stitches and picking up and knitting till I have picked up and knit the total amount of stitches that my pattern says I should. Okay, so I've just picked up and knit my bound off back neck stitches. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place a removable marker on my needle tip. This just comes in handy as we go and we pick up the rest of the stitches to keep track of each section that we're at. Then it says to pick up and knit 2 stitches at the top of the left shoulder. So that's the area that's kind of in between where the back neck stitches were and where that 3 needle bind off seam is right here. So somewhere in this area, we just want to pick up 2 stitches. And I like to make sure I don't pick up right on the edge. I like to go 1 stitch in. So I'm going to pick up, let's see, I'm going to go right into here. And where exactly you pick up, is up to you, just depending on how it looks. So that's 1. And then I'm going to pick up into the next one. Okay, so now I've picked up my 2 left, top of left shoulder stitches. Then what I do is I take my removable marker, and I remove it and I place it again. So after each section, I take the marker and I put it there. And that way I can always keep track of how many stitches I need to pick up in the next section. Then it says to pick up and knit 12 stitches down the left front curve, which works out to approximately 3 stitches for every 4 rows. So I'm going to go into the next stitch, so the next V. Go in right here. So I picked up 1. Then I'm going to go into the next one. And again, I'm 1 stitch in from the edge. I'm going to flip that up so you can see. I'm not going into the very edge stitch. I'm going into the V right next to it. Then I'm going to go into the next one. Okay. Then, because I'm picking up 3 stitches for every 4 rows, I'm going to skip that 4th row and then go into the next one. Okay, so now I've picked up 3 more. So then I will skip the next one and then go into this one. Okay, I picked up 3 more. I'm going to skip the next one and then go into the next one. Okay, so now let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I picked up my 12 and I have made it down to the area where the front bound off stitches are. So let's turn the work a little bit. There we go. And then just like the other times, I'm going to now remove the marker from where it's at and then place it again here, since I'm about to start my next pickup section. Now it says to pick up my front center bound off stitches. So just like my back neck bound off stitches, these are the horizontal V's. So you can see them all lined up here. So in my pattern, it says that I need to pick up and knit 38 of these front center bound off stitches. So I will go ahead and go into the very first one. And I'll go into the next one. Now there are other methods, if you look this up online, of how some people will pick up those bound off stitches. Sometimes they'll go even below the bind off. This is just my personal preference to pick them up this way, and I find it to be one of the easier methods. Okay, so I've just picked up my front center stitches. So then I'm going to go ahead and remove my marker and place it on my needle before I start my next section. So then it says to pick up 12 stitches along my right front curve. So just like on the left front curve, we're going to pick up 3 stitches for every 4 rows going up this curve here. So to start, I'm going to pick up, so again, I don't want to go right into the edge stitch. I want to go 1 in. Now, if I go all the way over here, I'm going to have a bit of a big gap right here. So I'm actually going to go a little bit sooner just to try to avoid too much of a gap right there. So I'm actually going to go into the stitch right here. Just like that. Okay, so I've picked up and knit 1 stitch. I'm going to go into the next one. That might help, especially when you're first going on this curve. You might need to use your left fingers to kind of torque the stitches just a little bit to get started. Okay, so I've done my first 3, so then I will skip the next one. Okay, so I've done another 3. I'm just gonna move the work a little bit. So then I will skip the next one. Okay, I've done another 3, so now I have 9. I'm going to skip the next one. Okay, so now I've picked up 12. So I'm close to the top here. Let me just move this again. And now we're going to pick up our 2 stitches. Well, first let me move my marker again. Okay, so now I just have 2 more stitches to pick up at the top of the right shoulder. And one thing you'll notice is that I'm a little bit further down on the right front than I had been on the left side when I picked up those top stitches. And that's totally okay. It's just the way that stitches are sort of lined up on the back of the neck. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up into this stitch here. And then I'll go ahead and pick up into the next stitch. Let's see, I'll go into this one here. Again, it really just depends on how the stitches look. There's no, right or wrong way. And you could do trial and error. So let's say you picked up that stitch and you weren't happy with how it looked. All you have to do is take it off the needle and then pull it just like that and redo it. So don't be afraid to do some trial and error. Okay, so I picked up my 2 stitches and I'm very close to my beginning of round, so I'm happy with that. And then all you have to do is take your marker out, and I'm just gonna wind up using this as my beginning of round marker, because the next step is to place a marker for beginning of the round, and then you join to work in the round. Now you're already sort of all positioned to join to work in the round. So to join, you actually will just start working your stitches. And in the case of this top, I'm working in a rib stitch for the trim. So I would just go ahead and work my first 2 stitches, which were knit 2s. Now you can see it's kind of loose right there. That's just because of where we joined the yarn. All you have to do is turn that over and just tighten up your tail a little bit. And actually both of the tails will help tighten that area up, just like that. So that is how you pick up stitches around a neckline using my soundtrack top as our example.